Hello, I'm Jackie, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we're going over my personal writing journey. If you don't know me, I make writing and reading videos every Monday, so stay tuned if you like more content like this. Now in my Authortube newbie tag, which I posted in January, I talked about the first thing that I had ever written, and that was a short story called Black Stallion that I came up with after I went to a friend's house. We played with horses for a little bit, and I wrote down the made-up story we'd come up with, which was basically Shiloh mixed with Black Beauty. I was at 3rd grade at the time and around 8 years old. Now around the same age, I had also started writing plays that I would make my brother and my cousins perform every Thanksgiving. I think that was also the beginning of my interest in historical research, because I would go to the library and get like children's books on the first Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag, and I would create these plays about the first Thanksgiving every year. They were certainly memorable in my family. I've actually kept some of my old stories. This is the original Black Chimney. I guess I did another one. Battlefield of Hope. I think I wrote this in 4th grade. Oh, apparently I was 15 years old in the story though. That's some wishful thinking. Oh, here are 2 of the first Thanksgiving plays. I didn't know how to use a computer when I first started writing them, and wow, I used rabbits as a curse word replacement. Good job, 8-year-old Jackie. Oh, here it is. Black Chimney of the Ghost Town. I wrote a sequel. Oh, and I found a story called Invisible Ink I wrote about a girl who spills invisible ink on herself and is then invisible. I forgot about that one. Oh, here's another Thanksgiving play. This was one of the later ones when oh wait, no, this is still handwritten. Okay, so I did manage to use a computer by the last Thanksgiving play. Now, unlike a lot of other people, I never really delved into the fan fiction world. I definitely wrote Harry Potter fan fiction, which I posted on Figment.com. Shout out if anybody remembers Figment. You could upload these works of fiction and you would get hearts in comments, and me and my friends would go on and we'd comment on each other's pieces, and there was Figment drama. Truly nothing like it. The whole website has been shut down, and honestly I endorse that decision. But no, instead of fan fiction, I really delved into like friend fiction, which was me and my friends going on adventures in a fictional universe. Most of them were affiliated with Christmas. I really, for some reason as a child, launched onto like holiday focused fiction. So I wrote a story about me and all my friends and our younger siblings living in a lodge in the woods that is haunted. Yes, I remember this. I wrote this full story about me and my friends living in a haunted lodge. It was called The Red Lodge Treasure. I don't even know if I can call it fiction because it was friend fiction. It obviously didn't feature any original characters. I was a blatant self-insert among everything else, but it was the first long thing that I ever finished. It was written in 2008 based on my computer files and also my author's note at the end of the book that I felt the need to include for some reason. I had completely formatted it like it was a book. It had a cover and it had page numbers and a table of contents. I even included a fake copyright. How old was I? I was in the 7th grade, so I would have been 12 years old. So yeah, 12-year-old Jackie decided to copyright her work with absolutely no legal backing. And it was around 20,000 words long, so it wasn't like a short thing. It was a fairly substantial project. Now, I would read you a summary, but I already wrote one in my sequel. By the way, this is my gorgeous title page. As far as I remember, the sequel of this is that there's another ghost in Red Lodge, the murderer of the other ghost, and they've cursed us. And the only way to break the curse is to find 7 gems, one for each character, and put them into this wooden piece of wood, Thanos style, and that will break everything. I don't know what my rationale was here, but I think Marvel owes me money. So the plot of this one seems to begin with an original character showing up in our Red Lodge. By the way, apparently in this scenario, all of our parents are dead and we've been adopted by a nun. So now we're debriefing the original character on the events of the previous book. The story starts 100 years ago when an ambassador and his daughter traveled the world. The man's was, she frowned, trying to remember, Andrew Williams. His daughter was Estella. When something happened in India, I think an elephant went crazy and she was almost killed. He moved to New York. There Estella met an African-American named Charles who saved her from a street gang. But her luck turned to tragedy. One day, her father followed her with a gun, found them kissing, and Charles accidentally killed Andrew. He felt so bad he killed himself. I was a very dark 12-year-old. My God. Last Christmas, a man called Simon came to our door and said he wanted to buy the lodge. Katie told him there was no way and asked why. He said that Andrew Williams' last words were that there was a treasure in a lodge the color of blood. I know I came up with Red Lodge because we were playing Red Lodge Reel in Orchestra. I don't know where my brain decided that needed a backstory. Simon thought it was Red Lodge, but he wasn't taking no for an answer. All night he haunted us. He tried to kill our dogs, Sam and Cheer, and threw a rock through Leah's window. The next day Estella told me in a dream, oh, by the way, this is me, like, me in the story telling this. I guess I was a medium. The next day Estella told me in a dream that she was murdered and trying to protect the treasure and told me where it was. Only he grabbed me on the way back. Only the boys pelted him with snowballs and the police arrested him. Okay. We found the treasure later. There was enough gold so we didn't have to struggle anymore. So that's what you can call a friendly warning if anything strange happens while you're here. Then she dropped her voice to a creepy whisper and said, or if a ghost disturbs your sleep. Then Jackie went off to put her burning marshmallow in a graham cracker. What was I thinking? Alright, and here is what I was looking for. Illustrated Red Lodge treasure. Here is our cover. I can't believe I illustrated this book. How much time did I have when I was 12? Here is the opening illustration of us all hanging out in our magnificent lodge. I imagine this beautiful, amazing tall chimney. Apparently I also wrote in my author's note that I was inspired by a summer camp I went to. So I guess it had a chimney like that. Apparently I do remember drawing this. There was a scene where they dangle the boys off the roof. We did have to investigate a dark cellar. I'm pretty sure that's me in the background looking all freaked out. I am very impressed. I remember really enjoying how I managed to show the flashlight light. Okay, this is bad. This is me looking for a ghost. Or my book self, I should say. This is the ghost. Here's the cover that I never finished. Apparently I did not want to illustrate the sequel. Anyway, The 7 Gems of Red Lodge was written in 2009 and was 22,000 words, so I was moving up in the world. After this, I decided to try my hand at other works of original fiction, and I came up with a story called USA Today. The plot of this one was the main character Bethany's parents are breaking up, so she's running away from home so that they learn to appreciate her with her cousin, and they're about to get on the subway because they live in New York City despite the fact that I knew almost nothing about New York City at age 13. They see a classmate who looks an awful lot like Bethany get kidnapped by her father as part of a custody dispute. They then follow him across the country, and the idea was there was going to be like an epic cross-country road trip aspect to the story. However, I realized I don't really know anything about road tripping because I was in middle school and I had traveled almost nowhere. And also the story plot really fell apart very quickly. Like, I was skimming the rest of it. I'm like, where is law enforcement? Where are the parents? So yeah, USA Today was written in 2011 and I got about 17,000 words before giving up, which is a little further than I thought I got, to be honest. After that, I tried a story called Puzzler, which was the first and only time that I had a male narrator. The book that I'm currently writing goes back and forth between a boy and a girl, but Puzzler was just a male narrator. I wrote the story in 2012, and I again got about 17,000 words before giving up. The main issue with this one is that it was about a boy and a girl who hated each other and were rivals and were both very, very smart and were on the chess team. And they have to go to a chess tournament where shenanigans ensue and they have to work together to figure out how to save the chess tournament. The reason I only got 17,000 words into this one is because that's what I realized. I know almost nothing about chess. I was not on my school's chess team. I do understand it, but not anything beyond just how to play the game. And it was just not something I was really able to write about from any position of expertise. That said, I've reread the introduction to this, and this might be the best first page I have ever written in my entire career. I don't know what it is with America and age 12. Everywhere, books, movies, music, people seem to consider it an age of innocence, your last chance to truly be a kid before you officially hit your teens. The reality is, 12 is the age when you learn how to swear, notice hot girls, and discuss certain knowledge you learned in health class. you know what I mean. It was during the time that we were receiving such knowledge that a girl named Tigris Valiev decided she wanted to kill me. You may have seen the cover of this book and thought it was about chess, and are thinking right now, what happened to the chess stuff in this book? Is the cover lying? Don't get me wrong, this book is about chess, but it's also about Tigris and Aaron and the time I nearly drowned because she decided it would be a good idea to work together. All of this was at the statewide chess tournament where we both spent 3 days, but mostly it's about Tigris. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning. And then I go into a scene in a sex ed class. Like, I think I should be reviving this story. And then there's paragraphs like this, like further down. What is that? Jaden is a great friend. He hates Tigris, which is my #1 requirement, and comes up with good counterattacks when she gets nasty. He doesn't let anyone call me teacher's pet just because I'm smart in exchange for homework help, and teaches me skateboarding on Saturdays sometimes. But no matter what I try to tell him, he still thinks that chess is a game for old men who's got nothing better to do with their time. For some reason, it's something I just can't get over. I never edited this book. It's like gold. Matt, you might be coming back. I did like the characters in this book. Matt and Tigris were just both so snarky and hated each other even when they had to work together. That said, I have no memory of who was causing the shenanigans at the chess tournament or not, and also, when did he drown? When was I going to drown my character? Now, around the same time, I was also working on a book called North Rushwave, which was about a boy and a girl who live in a town called North Rushwave, and the local museum is robbed, and they want to figure out who done it. And there was an interesting subplot with Vikings and New England whalers. And I actually got around 42,000 words into this. This was almost, actually no, it was 42,000 words. It's a proper middle grade novel. And I was 13 when I finished this. I distinctly remember I really wanted to finish it before the last day of 8th grade so I could print it out and give it to my friends. But I did think I still had this. This is the map of North Rushwave that I drew at the time, and I actually outlined it in black ink. And I think this is easily the most elaborate I've ever gotten with any kind of setting. Yeah, I remember this. I had Sand Dollar Beach, I had the middle school, there's one character's house, there's Seashell Ice Cream that would hang out. I got docks over here, I never actually outlined those. But yeah, I actually ended up really liking North Rushwave because I obviously spent so much time creating this seaside town that I wanted to go back to it. But North Rushwave was very much the inspiration for the novel that I'm getting ready to query right now. It's a middle grade mystery, it has a lot of the same elements, the seaside town, the museum getting robbed, and I think it's better than what I did when I was 12, but I still have a really soft spot for this story even to this day. At this time I was starting to get into National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo for short, so the first time I ever participated was in 2010 when I first got into high school. And I wrote a middle grade novel called Mistletoe Creek. It was not a romance, I was just keeping with my Christmas theme. But anyway, the story was that there was this girl, she's really into riding horses, because apparently I was an aspiring horse girl even though I've had one riding lesson in my entire life. And shenanigans ensue at this horse farm in the Christmas season. Now, I abandoned this one after 18,000 words because I realized I know nothing about horses and I have no business writing about a horse farm. The next year, in NaNoWriMo 2011, I ended up trying again, this time with a fantasy series called The Sorcerer's Square. And I figured since the last time I finished something it was North Rushwave, and at that point it had been 2 years earlier, I would divide it up into 4 sections. Whereas of 4 sides, yeah, I wasn't thinking very hard on this. But I do want to read this one on camera because I know the plot is that a girl gets magic powers and somebody wants to steal them from her. And I know I put a lot of effort into the world building because I have a very distinct memory of talking about my world building very loudly with a friend while the boy I liked was within earshot trying to impress him. Did not work. And I honestly think this was a semi-solidly plotted novel. I only got 30,000 words into it, but I think this one was actually good, and I have no memories of anything that happened in it. For NaNoWriMo 2012, I started a novel called Student Spies and Serial Killers, where a bunch of students are having to stay after school for various reasons when there's a lockdown because there's spies trying to shoot each other in the area, and they enter the school and shenanigans ensue. I will say I've revisited this, and it hits real different post Sandy Hook, and I will burn it. I ended up not doing any writing my senior year of high school because I hadn't been able to finish anything since middle school, and I was starting to think I had peaked in middle school, and I had a lot of other stuff going on. Now, after my first year of college, I came home and I started a novel that was then titled Life is Weird. It was about a girl who comes home after her first year of college to discover that her best friend has mysteriously vanished. I ended up tinkering with this story all through college, and once I graduated, I actually went back to it and finished it. I actually finished a novel for the first time since middle school. It ended up being around 75,000 words, and I actually went back and edited this one. I had never gone back and done serious editing on anything I'd ever written. You guys want to see the novel? Oh god, here it is. This is 3 drafts of the novel that was titled Alyssa. So yeah, after 4 drafts, about 25 queries, and 1 request, I ended up shelving this book. It became increasingly clear to me that John Green style YA, where things are kind of slow and there's a lot of philosophizing about teen life, just weren't hot on the market. Nobody wants to read that anymore. And also, I just wasn't that good a writer yet. Like, even though I've written all of this is the second novel with original characters that I've ever finished. So after that, I decided that I wanted to return to the world of North Rushwave. So I went back and I reread what I had written, all 42,000 words of it, and I was like, okay, there is something here. I mean, I give away who did the crime in the first, like, 5 chapters, so I figured it needed some improvement, but there was something there. So I actually went back and I rewrote the story with kind of an adult lens, but I did try to keep a lot of the details about it that I liked when I was 12, and that's about to go into the query trenches. I'm not going to say the title because I do think the title is going to change, but when I first rewrote it, it was like North Rushwave 2 Electric Boogaloo. And actually there's some weird details in there, and like critique partners are like, what the frick are you doing here? And I'm like, hey, 12-year-old Jackie, that was very important to her. It's staying in the story. So that is where I'm currently at in my writing journey. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a whole lot of fun going down memory lane. I'm literally like surrounded right now with stuff I've done throughout my life. But go ahead and subscribe if you like this kind of content. I post writing and reading videos every Monday, and I'll see you next time. Bye!